It's just revised phones and addresses of all school board members, and just keep this within ourselves. So just so you'll have it, Jessica is added on here. And hang on, I'll let you know. And this is it's going to go around several times. Just choose one school each time, and pick the schools that you would like to be. Ooh, did Mr. Edwards tell us?
He did not.
Or
Okay.
Hughes. Dennis Hughes.
Oh, she
Right.
was?
Yeah,
Right.
she had to.
Do you want to hold it till the next meeting?
I would think so.
Let's hold it till the next meeting. I think that's early enough. Yeah, we'll wait.
Definitely for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Laura's not gonna read that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we won't do that. So I guess at this point, Dr. Spence, we're ready for our first workshop.
Great. At the retreat, we had an initial conversation about some of the changes coming to transportation. And while we will not be, and Mr. Freeman will speak to this, ready to talk about what we want to talk to you about in October relative to start times, we did think it was important to get you up to speed on what's happening over in the transportation department as we get ready for the new school year. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Mr. Freeman.
Thanks, Dr. Spence. Members of the board, Dr. Spence, good evening. For this school year, the Office of Transportation is launching several improvements that are intended to increase our efficiency and ensure equitability of the services that we provide. In short, we are reconstructing how we route our buses using newly purchased software. David Pace, the Executive Director of Transportation, and I are here tonight to describe those changes. As Dr. Spence mentioned, in recent months, there have been many conversations related to transportation impacts to school start time changes. We're scheduled to present tonight the information to you, or we're scheduled to present that information to you on the 8th of October, and will not be discussing transportation impacts to school start times today. Today, we're focused on transportation improvements through the implementation of new software. It's worth noting that every improvement that you hear is supported by findings during the transportation audit that was concluded in April of 2019. Further, all changes will keep us in alignment with state code and school board policies and regulations. School board policy states that we will render the most adequate system of school bus transportation that financial means will allow, and that we will establish routes to provide uniform consideration to all of our students. Those statements guide us to be efficient and equitable. Before David Pace provides details of the improvements, it may be helpful for you to know some of the specifics regarding our policies and regulations. For example, our regulations state that non-transportation zones where school bus service is not provided are not to exceed 1 mile from the school for elementary schools, and that distance is 1.5 miles for secondary schools. Regulations also state where buses cannot operate. Regular education buses cannot operate on any road not maintained by a city or a state highway department or on private roads. By exception, private streets can be used for routing if the community provides the school division with a letter of indemnification. Regular education school bus routes are designed to avoid private streets, cul-de-sacs, and dead-end streets. The prohibition of buses to enter cul-de-sacs and dead-end streets is due to the large size of our 64-passenger school buses. While the smaller, shorter special needs buses make stops at these locations, the 64-passenger school buses are longer than special needs buses, and they cannot make the complete turnaround without backing. Backing a 64-passenger school bus substantially increases risks, and so we avoid that when designing our routes. Regulations also state that school bus stops are designed to be in the safest locations within 0.3 of a mile from a student's residence. It's for elementary schools, and 0.5 of a mile for secondary students. Finally, school bus stops are not located within non-transportation zones. All right, now that we've covered information from our policies and regulations that guide us in being efficient and equitable in the transportation we provide to our students, I'd like to invite David Pace to the podium to explain the improvements that we're implementing this year. David?
Thank you. Chris. Good evening.
Good evening.
Long evening it is.
Sorry.
I'm pleased to have this opportunity to share with you the information about the Transportation Office and our staff's work to serve our families in Virginia Beach. From our school bus drivers and assistants to our mechanics to the dispatchers and supervisors, all of us are very passionate about what we do and about our work because we know that we carry our city's most precious cargo, our children. As a result, our mission is to provide safe, efficient, reliable, and courteous transportation to all of our students. The Virginia Beach City Public Schools transportation system is a massive operation. On any given day, we have approximately 635 buses on the road, running 3,400 routes to transport 45,277 students twice each day. This slide shows the breakdown of our bus fleet in addition to the 15 minivans that are used for special needs, academies, or the Plan B program for transportation. To put our work in context, our 635 bus drivers drive about 9 million miles per year. Our division is only one of the few in the nation using a 4-tier transportation system. A 4-tier school bus transportation system is designed to use school buses for multiple school assignments. Most of our drivers, where time schedules permit, are assigned 4 school runs each morning and each afternoon. They drive for a high school, an A elementary school, a B elementary school, and a middle school. These multiple assignments reduces the number of buses and drivers needed to provide school bus service and increases overall efficiency. You may wonder how we accumulate so many miles each school year on our school buses. If you consider the number of programs in our school division that require school bus transportation, you can conclude that these buses travel a lot of miles in support of our students' academic and activity pursuits. I have listed here on this slide some of our programs to give you an idea of the many instructional and athletic program opportunities we offer our students that make their attendance possible with school bus transportation. As the transportation staff moves forward to more efficiently and responsibly serve our students and their families, we have several goals that guide our way. 1, to comply with school board policies and regulations to be fair and equitable. To more efficiently utilize minivans. To reduce the number of drivers needed, and again, to implement efficiencies where possible. It will also be the transportation team's goal to pursue the ridership goals of 44 secondary students per bus and 64 primary students per bus. The biggest challenge to this goal are the time and distance it takes to pick up students, deliver students to their school or home, and return the buses to their next school assignments. The current operating hours of our school sites provides just a 30-minute turnaround for buses in the afternoon to pick up students at their first school served, deliver students to their bus stop locations, and return the bus to their second-tier assignment. This is also true between the second and third-tier assignments. As you may recall, the turnaround time was increased last year from 40 minutes to 50 minutes between the third-tier elementary schools and the middle schools due to late arriving school buses. While meeting our ridership goals is our focus, we must accomplish these goals within the time and distance restraints in order to safely get school buses to each school served on time. Now for some exciting improvements for this coming year that were identified through better use of technology and the dedicated work of the staff that is supported by school board policy, regulations, and of course the recent audit. The transportation team is excited about the new Edulog GPS and routing software that was recently purchased and is in the process of installation. The new software is at just over $500,000, is only $100,000 more than the old software that didn't have as many features. The software is only a small portion of the total cost. The hardware purchase was for GPS units, tablets, antennas, wiring harnesses, and equipment installation. These costs are within the transportation's existing budget, and we will recoup some of that based on the efficiencies that we achieve. This software and the capabilities of that technology will provide us with the tools to address multiple needs of our transportation operation. The new Edulog product integrates the GPS tracking of the school bus with the routing software. This total integration makes it much easier to route and track buses to monitor the plan versus the actual routes the drivers take to pick up and deliver students. Any deviations from the planned route will be easily identified and corrected. In fact, the system allows for red flag warnings to be sent to supervisors so they can review and address the issues immediately. The software also has machine-based learning and artificial intelligence, commonly known as AI, for managing and extracting large amounts of data to support automatic making based on machine learning probability analysis of events. For example, the machine-based learning, AI, in the software can automatically recognize when something is out of the ordinary and correct the information so that the parent app, the key performance indicators, and driving directions are all a true and timely representation of what is really happening on the road. And finally, the software also has the capability of populating the student transportation data from Synergy to quickly update student transportation data fields, which would enable the school division to have accurate information about the transportation needs for every one of our students. A parent-facing app that will replace the Here Comes the Bus app is also included in the Edulog software. This improved app integrates with our software and has all the same features as the previous app, including push notifications and real-time views of a bus approaching the stop. In addition, it also allows parents to request a change in their child's bus transportation and receive approval or denial from supervisors more quickly. For future implementation, the app also has capabilities to track which students board and exit a school bus. And finally, the daily attendance and work hours can be easily tracked with this new software. This capability also integrates with the Virginia Beach City Public Schools payroll software to provide immediate monitoring of overtime.
That's awesome.
While the move to use improved technology to address the issues of ridership and operating efficiency was done prior to the April 2019 audit, all of our improvements are in line with our school board policies, our regulations, and the recommendations of the 2019 audit, which focused on the efficiencies for our regular education transportation. The audit revealed 3 findings for us to address. First, I've shared with you the many improvements our new technology will offer our students and their families. Second, we will continue to comply with school board policies and regulations. The final finding of the audit was the recommendation to discontinue courtesy stops, which consume time and have the potential to create safety concerns. School bus drivers have been notified that this can no longer occur, and the topic will be addressed again at our bus driver in-service prior to the start of this school year. A communication plan has been developed to notify parents and administrators of the changes to our daily operations. These communications will stress the importance of the partnership between parents and the school division transportation office to efficiently and safely transport children to and from school. The Code of Student Conduct requests that a parent or other adult accompany their children to and from the school bus stop. And we will continue to encourage our students' families to adhere to this practice, which greatly increases the safety of students during their walk to and from home to a bus stop. We annually receive requests from families for exceptions and requests to adjust and or add new bus stops. These requests should continue to be directed to the Transportation Office to determine whether they are in compliance with school board policy and our regulations, and if so, whether a new stop can be added without negatively impacting efficient transportation service to all our students throughout the city. Should a parent or guardian continue to have concerns, if his or her request is denied, school board policy allows the board the opportunity to create additional stops in cases of the physical incapacity of a student, extenuating safety factors, or efficiency reasons. Most of the improvements transportation has put into place are technology-based, which improve the efficiencies and safety of our services. A lot of work has already been underway this summer with installation of the software beginning in July. Schools then began populating the synergy fields and our office entered ridership goals, as well as the bus stop distances per school board policy. Needless to say, updating this information will be ongoing. All of that information is now being aggregated by the software and meticulously checked by our team so that we can be ready to make it available to the public on August the 26th. Transportation will also continue working with the Department of School Leadership in preparing school start time recommendations for the board's consideration in October. Thank you very much for your attention and time this afternoon to share with you the work and improvements made by our transportation office. Mr. Freeman and I would be pleased to answer any questions.
Does anyone have questions or comments? Ms. Melnick?
David, how many courtesy bus stops do you think we had?
It's difficult to say because they're not normally reported to us. It was one of the things that when we were doing the audit analysis, we'd say, well, why is there a bus stop there? It's difficult sometimes for drivers to say no.
Right,
You're going
yeah, that's
right
what
by
I
a
figured.
house and
Yeah.
the parents there. Can you just stop? Particularly in the rain and those
Right.
kinds of things. But the problem with that is if they don't tell us and we don't put it on a route sheet, and the driver's absent, and we got a
Right.
substitute on the bus, it's not on the route sheet, the stop gets missed, the child gets missed, safety issues can occur. So it was noted as being a significant bus problem that we've been emphasizing that to our drivers, that ceases in the system. With this software, it'll flag it right up. If a bus makes a stop that's not on the assigned route, it'll immediately flag it to the supervisor.
Ms. Manning?
Yeah, and we discussed this in audit as well. There were also legal reasons behind stopping the courtesy stops as well. If you're supposed to be dropping a student off at one location and you're dropping them off somewhere else, that could be illegal.
And
Problem.
Ms. Manning, that's exactly right. And it is in our regulations that students are only supposed to be dropped off at the designated stop or school.
Right.
Period.
Right. So two questions for you. The app that parents use, and I've gotten some great feedback from parents on that, but I've also heard, and it's been a little while since I've heard this, but there were some concerns with bus drivers that parents were still able to track them when they were, like on their break or in between runs, and I had heard one complaint that a parent was following them and harassing them. Why aren't you here? Where are you supposed to be? Why are you sitting still?
Well, sometimes the drawback of a tracking technology is that you can track the bus. This new software sort of gives us some more security measures to not do that.
Okay.
Because I did get feedback from the bus drivers. Who were
Okay.
concerned, they know where my bus is parked, and they're going to come. But we didn't have any incidents.
Okay.
It's just a concern, and I understand that.
Yeah.
And this new software will allow us to make some security. With the AI, the artificial intelligence capability of this, it's like your Garmin in your car. When you get in your car and start it up, if you've been using a Garmin, it'll all pop up and tell you how far it is from work because it knows you're going to work. This has that same. It's one of the few transportation software programs that has that capability, and that's good for a lot of reasons. Right now, the driver has to manually put in a tablet when they change buses if there's a substitute bus. With this system, when the bus gets to the first stop, regardless of the bus number, it's going to tell the parent that the bus is on the way because it knows that route and it's remembered that and it tracks it.
Nice.
And then just one other question. You said that August 26th is when the routes are going to come out for parents.
Right.
Is that the normal date, or is that just because we've kind of changed our systems?
No, that's typically the normal date.
That seems a little late, just for parents to make arrangements to be able to, especially if the bus stop
Significantly changes.
Yeah.
That,
And also to work out any kinks. I mean, is that something that we could look at maybe putting out earlier in the future?
that's a,
I mean,
Well, labor
I
days
would
are
say I
always
think
soon.
the issue really is about the labor that takes on the front end to get all of the student information into the information system so the routing can start.
And I know it's different this year, so I'm not asking for that this year. Maybe in the future, once we do have.
I think we probably have to see how the software functions.
In future years, we can absolutely look and see if there's an opportunity. Clearly, it's not gonna be there for this year, but
Yeah.
for future years, we'll see if it makes sense if we can move that window a little
Yeah,
bit
I
further.
think if we can give the families a little bit more notice than that. I think
Except
it's-
sometimes when you give it a little too early, it's a little too early, and people really miss
Right.
it, and they're looking the week before because they're in school mode.
We'll try and find balance and I wanna make sure that we're in alignment with other communications that are going,
Right.
that are
Yeah.
associated.
Typically, it always comes out the Sunday, a week before school starts. Not the Sunday before, but the
And
week
as a parent,
before.
I always thought it came out way too late, so.
and we're also coordinating this with media and communications. I know it's not the name of their department now, so they're making some of the decisions of when they're releasing things for the alert nows and all those kind of things, so. And it's a work in progress being a new software
Yes.
system, so
Completely
I'm sure as we
understand that.
move forward, we may very well be able to have the routes designed by the middle of August.
Okay.
And if we can, then of course we could release them.
And just for the public, I want to reiterate that we're hoping that this is going to save us quite a bit of money with this software, just being able to be more purposeful and efficient in our transportation department.
That's our goal.
That's right.
Ms.
Good job.
Felton?
Two questions. The process of implementation of the GPS system or the IA system, which come first? The zoning? Did you choose the zoning first or place them all on the bus, or just you just randomly put them on the buses?
Oh, no, we don't randomly put them on the bus. But that was there's three components to the optimization of the routes. The first starts with the Synergy student database that we download into the routing system. We started July 1st, once we got the system installed, downloading Synergy. And at that time, we had 13,000 plus students that were blank, wasn't anything about transportation.
Wow.
Thanks to Don Robertson and his help through Dossel. It's down now to about 3,500, and we just sent a notice out today. The reason that's important is because when you route the bus and you put ridership goals on it, if what we get out of Synergy that says they're transported or not transported makes a difference, because it says they're transported but they're not, then the bus will be inefficient. The second thing is, of course, the parameters that we use: 3/10 of a stop for an elementary, a mile to a stop for an elementary, 5/10 for a secondary, and then of course we have to do the time restraints, put a time schedule on there.
So the capability of this GPS, will it allow you to contact the parent in case you take a child home and no one is there and the child is not, well, they get caught up in between, they not knowing where the child is. And I've gotten calls from parents, where's my child? They took him back to school, why didn't they call me? So will we have this capability?
Well, eventually, we're working so much right now on getting the routes optimized and the other suites installed. It does have a student tracking capability. And at some point in the future, that takes another piece of hardware that needs to go on the bus, because it has to have a way for the student to swipe a card in and, just RFID card or whatever, so that they know that they're on the bus.
Okay.
There are some that are a little more sophisticated, but this one will work. We just haven't done that because we want to get this done. So in the future, yes, we'd be able to know where the child got off and when. And
So
where
what
it got on.
happens? What happens if you have to take the child back to school?
Yeah.
What happens if we do?
Yeah?
If a parent has told us that they don't want their child dropped off at the stop without an adult there to receive the child, the bus drivers take the child back to school. And that
Does that throw everything out?
No, we're notified, our administrators are notified, and they're waiting for them, and then they try to get in touch with the parent, get them to come up to the school. It happens
We've done that
all the time.
I'm sure.
That policy has been in place for years, and it has worked extremely well. have never lost a child.
I agree with you, but I
Even though
just,
this is Corian, we're.
this is gonna send a red flag
Come
up,
on,
you know,
David.
this bus has gone back to the school. So, yeah, anyway, Ms. Owens,
Actually, though, that was kind of the vein of my question. Is there a policy about our young children, our pre-Ks and kindergartners, having an adult on the receiving end, and is there an age range, or how, is it just parent request? How does that work?
Yes, well, here's how it started years ago when I first started this business.
Okay.
Yes, we required an adult to be there to meet a kindergarten child or a first grader. We got so much return complaints from parents saying, I have a fifth grader on the bus. The fifth grader is gonna escort my kindergarten child
Into that.
home. So yes, we say, the drivers, when they see the parents at the bus stop, they say, if you want a parent to be here to meet your child, we need to know that right now, and they make that comment on their route sheets. So they know, the substitute knows, if there's not a parent or an adult there to meet that child, they take the child back.
Okay. And that information will be able to be captured in the new software, so it's not on a written thing, or?
Oh, yes, once we get the student tracking availability, we'll be able to do a lot more on that end.
Still sounds like a lot for bus drivers to be responsible for remembering who's Timmy and that's Timmy's mom versus how many little people you have getting off on which.
Well, the interesting thing is that the most of the expense that is involved in this purchase is not for the software. It's for the 808 tablets that go on the bus, for the 808 GPS units that go on the bus, and all the components that go with that. That's where your major expense comes in. But the tablet is what picks up all the information that the driver don't have to remember,
Right.
because it's picking it up as the kid is getting on and off the bus. If a child gets on the bus that isn't supposed to be there, the tablet will tell them that. The child's not on your list. As we move forward, the sophistication of this is gonna really probably amaze you.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Weems?
Yeah, thanks for, I love that when you share the stats, because I think when we talk about transportation, and especially when our constituent says, well, why don't y'all do this, because Chesapeake does it, or somebody else, and they're a lot smaller, people don't realize that we go 9 million miles a year, and which is 50,000 miles a day.
Yeah.
If you do
Twice around the
180,
world every day.
yeah, 50,000 miles a day that our buses are out there. So that's just amazing. That they do a great job. But anyway, my question was, and just as somebody who's at a bus stop every morning, every afternoon, the Where's My Bus and this new app, I love it. We just love it in Lakeview Park. We just love that app. So anyway, what does it mean when you, on that one slide, that special needs programs not evaluated? Or
They
in
didn't,
the audit?
they did not, the
On the
audit did not include in the efficiency study, the citywide program, the
Or-
special needs program, the after-school activity program. None of those were
Okay.
evaluated. It was just the regular to and from school transportation.
Just
But-
because it would have been too complicated or what?
For the
why?
internal auditor, yeah, but to be clear, these changes are for all.
For
of these
everybody,
programs.
yeah,
So
yeah,
They're not limited to
We
the.
now have the
audit functions.
capability of doing all optimization for all those routes.
Okay, thank you.
David, I just want to say thank you for what you do, because I've been to transportation during dismissal, and you want to talk about jaw-dropping beehive activity, like unlike anything you have ever seen or heard. Go sit in a corner during drop-off or pick up during the day, and
Well-
it'll blow your mind.
I'll just leave you one, if you're finished, I'll just leave
Yeah,
you
I'm-
with one statistic. If we transport 55,200 students twice each day, that's 90,400 people movements every day. That's a city the size of Portsmouth to move every citizen in Portsmouth every day.
It's unbelievable.
It's amazing.
amazing.
Just drive down Princess Anne Road and South Larkspur when they're loading coming
Yeah.
in or going out.
Or Lance
Just
High School.
Larkspur.
Yeah.
I want to include safely, because you guys are amazing.
Yeah.
Better to have an
Safely.
appointment, because you're gonna be late.
That's it, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next.
Gonna turn
We're all
this
waiting for this
over
one.
to
We have
Farrell
dental.
for a dental benefits update. You know, this has been an ongoing conversation with boards. It's not a new conversation, but we do have some new information. And Farrell will talk about conversations with city and the benefits committee on that. So turn it over to him and Linda.
What about the city council school session?
They are not. We had a councilwoman with us tonight.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, Sabrina was there.
Oh, that's right, I saw her in the back, she said, we said hi, but I mean, shouldn't she have been there discussing?
Discussing the dental benefits.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we're that far along. We just want to keep you in the
Well,
loop.
they talk about the,
This is a retiree eligibility.
This is us.
Linda, you can come on up.
No,
Yes, it is.
it is?
Yeah, it absolutely is. You'll see.
Okay.
Good evening. Chairman Anderson, Vice Chairman Melnick, school board members.
Better coverage,
Uh,
cheaper.
We're gonna tag team this. I'm gonna give it to Linda real quickly. This is really an exciting news, I think. And as you see us go through the presentation, I think you will agree with us. This same presentation, Linda is going to be making at the city council on the 27th. So, because we have city employees, city retirees who also participate in the dental plan. So, where we would go from here is we would put this on the action plan part of the agenda for our meeting on the 27th. And then this council is gonna be dealing with it on that same date. If we can get that done and the council approves it and you approve it, then we can meet our enrollment deadline for open enrollment and the things that we have to do. So I'm not gonna take any time. I just wanna introduce you, Linda Matkins, our Director of Consolidated Benefits. Linda's our expert in this field, and I'm just gonna turn it over to you.
Okay.
And
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening about our retiree eligibility for our dental plan. Several years ago, during our RFP for our dental plan, we did talk about eligibility for Medicare eligible retirees at that time. They have remained on our plan, but we are now at the 3-year initial contract expiration for our dental contract, and so it's, into the 1-year renewals. So we wanted to take the opportunity to talk about new dental plan options that are available, review the historical eligibility, the changed dental plan environment, a plan comparison, enrollment, and next steps. So there are new dental plan options for Medicare eligible retirees. There is a MetLife Take-Along dental plan, which is offered to employer-sponsored plan members, and they have competitive plan design and rates, and it's available to any member actually leaving our plan for any reason. So like our dependents that are aging out could elect this plan. And we are also conducting an RFP for a Medicare Marketplace vendor, and there are Medicare Marketplace dental plans available as well. There are plans with Emeritus, Cigna, Humana, MetLife, Renaissance Dental. And the Medicare Marketplace vendors are tailored to assisting Medicare eligible retirees. They provide outreach to the members prior to becoming Medicare eligible. I think the average is 3 touch points because it takes a while to understand what you're electing. They provide free counseling with highly trained advisors for the selection of dental plans in addition to the Medicare plans. They provide free assistance throughout the year with questions and problem resolution, and they also meet with them annually for open enrollment of Medicare. And they provide website tools for plan comparison and selection. And there's also healthcare.gov dental plans with Anthem, Delta Dental, Dominion National, Renaissance, The Guardian, and there's actually several others. So prior to 2004, pre-Medicare eligible retirees were eligible for our dental plan if they had coverage as an employee at the time they retired. But we did not provide dental coverage to Medicare eligible retirees at that time. But about in mid-January of 2004, there was an appeal from Medicare eligible retirees which led to a change in our eligibility that we have today. And the rationale for that change is because there were limited individual dental plan options. And the ones that were available, it was like an HMO type, and then there was limited availability to get into the dentist. And since there is no employer contribution provided for dental coverage, there was not a perceived cost to provide administration for the Medicare eligible retirees. So at that time in 2004, we did retroactively communicate with the Medicare eligible population. It was 57 at that time, and 37 took us up on the offer basically and retroactively enrolled. So the dental plan environment has changed. As mentioned earlier, there are expanded individual dental plan options with the MetLife Take-Along Dental Plan, the Medicare Marketplace, and the healthcare.gov. There has been a significant increase in enrollment. In 2004, when we enrolled those 34, there's now 2,433 Medicare eligible retirees on our dental plan.
Wow.
With the dental renewal for 2020, premiums would be higher by 2.6% for everyone, actives and retirees, if the Medicare eligible retirees remained enrolled. And even though there's not an employer contribution, since actives and retirees have a blended rate, there actually is an implicit subsidy to them, and therefore it impacts our OPEB liability. And there would be a cost to include them on our online enrollment platform, which would be $2.60 per member per month, and they are currently not enrolled.
And that's a cost that the employer, we would absorb, the employee would be paying them.
Right. Thank you for clarification. So this is a plan comparison with the plan that most closely meets ours, probably because it's a MetLife plan, but it's their MetLife Take-Along Medium option, and it closely mirrors our Gold plan. So if you look at it, that top line, the Take-Along plan has greater coverage as it covers up to $1,500 annually instead of the $1,300 like ours does. But there's no orthodontic coverage on that Take-Along plan. The premiums for most of the tiers are actually less on the Take-Along plan, looking at the zip code of 23456. There are a few tiers where the cost is greater, and it's the ones covering the child and children, but there's only 23 Medicare eligible families that cover children on our plan at this time. So this is showing the current enrollment for our Medicare eligible retirees, and just to note, there are more than double of the pre-Medicare eligible retirees. So the Medicare eligible retirees represent 68.3% of the entire retiree enrollment in our dental plan. This change, because we have been talking about it a while, it has been discussed at the Benefits Executive Committee. There was consensus agreement for us to look to make this eligibility change. So next steps for Medicare eligible retirees would be to implement the MetLife Take-Along Dental Plan to provide communication and assistance to our Medicare eligible retirees for a 2020 plan election, and to implement this Medicare Marketplace. And we didn't talk much about it, but it does provide counseling and resources to Medicare eligible retirees, even employees that are coming off of our plan if they're terminating, and they're already Medicare eligible. But it goes over the Medigap, the Medicare Advantage plan, the Medicare Part D. There's vision plans, including the dental plan, so it's all encompassing to assist these retirees. And if we were to do this, they can enroll as late as December 20th to gain coverage as of January 1st. And then the next steps for the actives and the pre-Medicare eligible retirees would be to renew the contract with MetLife, not to include the Medicare eligible retirees and have the lower rate increase for 2020. And we need to finalize, as Farrell had mentioned, the 2020 dental plan quickly with open enrollment communication materials to be finalized, printed, and released, the website revisions, the programming rates into our payroll systems, and also the rate updates with VRS. And I think that, I think that retirees typically go with what they know, and I think that in the past, we've given them a list of here's some companies to call and an 800 number, and I think that that's usually the scary part about it, is not knowing what to do. And I think by having these plans available to them, providing them the resources, knowing where to go to take care of it, and providing them the Medicare Marketplace too, where they would actually have a skilled counselor that can walk them through it and answer any questions that they have. I think that that will be a great benefit that we would provide to these Medicare eligible individuals.
It wouldn't be just a benefit with regard to their interest in a dental plan, but any Medicare eligible pre-Medicare employee or retirement that's retiring or is retired can counsel with these. These people are not salaried for, they're not selling a product. They're really looking at the global marketplace, and for that individual, they will recommend the options that might be best for that individual, whether or not they need Part D, whether or not they need Part B.
And that plan, for clarification, may not be available at the time they need to enroll for January. We're in the middle of that RFP now. But this MetLife take-along dental plan that we're showing you the plan comparison for now is available right now. And then they would have that opportunity when we do implement, and maybe it will be in time, we're not clear. But if not, they will certainly have the upcoming year to plan, because like I mentioned, this company reaches out 6 months in advance. They reach out prior to the open enrollment period, so that they would have plenty of opportunity to, further look at other options as well.
I'm not clear on that. I'm not clear on that. I somehow.
Like how far in advance they'll know, when will they get a notification?
So if you mean for the Medicare Marketplace plan? Or just for this opportunity? So if a decision is made on the 27th, we would incorporate that into our open enrollment communication, so that they would get information from us to know what they needed to do to make the change.
Okay.
This is going to be a better option for the vast majority of Medicare retiree that currently have a plan. Going to be less costly for the vast majority of them. Only 20 of them out of those plus 2,000 would that have the child coverage, and very few people that do that. And it's going to be less costly to the school division. It's going to be less costly to all employees, because if we leave the Medicare retirees on the plan, it's going to cost everybody else an additional 2%. So this is kind of the first time that kind of thing has happened, and because of our contract with the current vendor, it's kind of the perfect storm that's kind of happening, and the cost is going up not only for the employer but for employees.
So is this for all Medicare eligible, including people that are active?
Active
employees?
No, active would continue to remain
Just
eligible for our plan, just like.
But
they do.
even employee, like if you're not retired and you are active with the school system, you would, even though you're over 65, you would still be eligible for
our active benefit.
for the active benefit. Okay.
That's retiree only.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because sometimes it doesn't matter. Ms.
Well,
Riggs?
I mean, mine kind of is in conjunction because I'm active. I'm not doing Medicare. I'm working with the school system with my health insurance.
Right,
So-
even people that elect, some people don't elect the Part B when they're eligible,
Right.
because they're actively
I
working.
don't.
But
Right.
even if they do, they still can keep active coverage. It doesn't matter if they elect Medicare when you're actively employed. You remain eligible for the active benefits.
So would I be eligible for this new plan, this new dental?
The dental plan, from what I understand from MetLife, and we're getting the information, is that I think initially it intended to just be for employer-sponsored plans, and then they're gonna, let you roll into this. They were gonna have a site where you put in a code that understood who you were, but I'm understanding that anyone can go onto that plan. So I can get clarification
Okay.
to find out if people are it's not like, now, if you think about the healthcare.gov, you can't go on there and get a subsidy if you're eligible
Right.
as an active. But I don't think it impacts your dental, but it's a good question, and we'll check into the.
So for the 2,000 or so people that we have who are Medicare eligible, who are retired, there's gonna be plenty of notification and plenty of help for them. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, so,
Because I don't wanna just dump them off and,
It's gonna be much better for the vast majority of them.
so we would start communicating, looking to Lauren, who does all our communication. As normal during open enrollment, and the deadline they told me was December 5th. I'm told that they can enroll by paper, they can enroll online, and they can enroll by calling in. So I think there's plenty of opportunity, and MetLife's had this actually take-along plan in a lot of other states, and they, have made it finally, available for plans in Virginia. So it's a pretty large program. I think they would be able to handle, our folks, and we would do like home mailings and information to them.
okay.
So just for clarification, for someone like Trinace who's active but not VRS active, does that make her active when it comes to the healthcare portion?
Yes, because school
She's
board
active,
members are.
Not a retiree, a teacher retiree.
Right, so school board members are active employees. There's only certain things that you're not eligible for, and that's VRS. One is like long-term disability, because it's not really an income to replace.
Right.
But otherwise, you're eligible for all other benefits that, are available. So
Why are delegates
to the
VRS?
answer, you are active.
I don't know.
They voted themselves in.
Anyone else have questions?
Sure.
In between now and
Why wasn't that?
2 weeks from now, anybody that has any questions, Linda, myself, Lauren, please feel free to contact.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, 'cause
Sorry.
we have any retirees that are out there that are listening to this.
Yes.
They may have some questions.
Like my last three largest.
So at this time, we're ready to read in to closed again. And do you all want to go back to room 113 for the closed session so that we can,
Yes.
they've been holding our food all this time.
Oh my gosh, we've got to do something so Tammy can leave.
Yeah.
Tammy's drowning.
She did for getting on an airplane.
No, without a mask.
So we will go back to 113 for this. Yeah. So go ahead and read it. Read in. Yeah, read in now, and then we'll recess and convene in 113.
I move that the school board recess into a closed meeting pursuant to the exemptions from open meetings allowed by section 2.2-3711, part A, paragraph 1 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended. For personnel matters, discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers. Am I crossing any part of this off? Or are we revisiting?
Everything's the same.
Appointees are employees pursuant to section 2.2-3711A, namely to conduct a hearing regarding a grievance filed by an administrator, discuss the resignations of specific administrators, and discuss and consider the superintendent's annual goals and performance expectations.
Okay, those in favor, or seconded by Mrs. Riggs, those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed?
Well, that wording is still on there.
Okay, whatever.
We adjourn?